This is a video on the book I've just finished, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I want to start by saying this isn't like a book on how to make money, it's just talking about why people make certain decisions and why, like just the psychology of why certain people are poor, rich, bad at making money, bad at saving money, good at making money, then end up losing it, all that. So firstly, the role of psychology. Emotions like fear, which is the main one in everything, can cause, it's all about investing as well, and stocks. Again, he doesn't really talk about businesses or anything like that, and I'm fairly sure he says something about like paychecks and working. So I think this guy that made the books was a working man at some point and just invested. So it's a lot about stocks and like history and all that. Anyway, so fear can cause investors panic when markets dip and then end up missing out on potential recoveries. So they'll think, oh no, I'm losing money, quickly pull out. Greed can also be a bad one because that can lead to many like swayed decisions where they like chase trends or think that they're always thinking positively when sometimes it's not always going to go to plan. And then overconfidence as well, fairly similar to greed in a way, where they think that they'll just take massive risks because they're overconfident and think that they're immune to like financial setbacks. And then this, like everyone's on a different path that you know. And in my last book, if you watch the videos on the Millionaire Fastlane, he's got a very different view, like the new view, which I agree with him more, I guess. This guy's, again, everyone's got their own opinion, but he's talking about stocks and highlights like compounding and your money accelerating over time and stocks, and talks about like Warren Buffett on how he had patience and had a long-term view, and shows that short-term market fluctuation often balance out over extended periods, which this is all true. And again, like I say, his opinion, I repeat myself a lot, but he's playing a very long game and it's what people want. But like Warren Buffett says something about he made like 83 billion out of his 85 billion after his 60th birthday or something. And again, this is my opinion, but I'd rather have money when I'm younger, even if it's not a substantial amount like billions. I'd rather have enough to actually like be able to enjoy it, because what's he gonna do now? Like now he's got all this money. And like I say, long-term view, very good, but at the same time you can definitely make money in not so much 40 years but like 5 instead. He also talks about how the history doesn't always mean the history doesn't always repeat itself. He says that a lot of time people can never believe like what happened. Like World War One was meant to be the war that ends all wars, and the Titanic was meant to be unsinkable, all these different things. He didn't mention Titanic, but that was my point. And yeah, he just says that you can't look at the past and think that it's gonna like happen again. And how this links in is that people believe that recent trends will continue as well. And a lot of the time, if something's a trend, you're usually late to it, to do with money. Like if everyone, like with Bitcoin, everyone that made the money was in it early when no one knew about it. All the people that joined later in, when it then dropped, lost the money because it was a bit too late. Now this is the thing I really agree with that he said in the book. I'm just going to read. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. People want to become wealthier to make them happier. Happiness is a complicated subject because everyone's different. But if there's a common denominator in happiness, the universal fuel of joy, it's that people want to control their lives. The ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, is priceless. It's the highest dividend money pays. There's another part in the book where he says like pretty much possessions don't equal wealth. And he was a valet driver at one point, and he found out that a lot of people that had these flash cars weren't actually that wealthy. And this guy that he said, let's call Roger, came in a Porsche, which obviously then brought a lot of assumptions. But then like a week later, he ended up coming in an old Honda, like week on week. So he said, what happened to the Porsche? And the guy said it was repossessed after defaulting on a car loan. So a lot of people, they have these flash cars, but they end up putting like near enough the whole paycheck in just to have this car to make them look like they're wealthy when actually they're not wealthy. It's just a front they put on. Now, I just want to talk on something where I feel like there's a big divide. So there's one side of people that are saying, like, you should never buy anything. You should live below your means. Don't get them $5 pound coffees from Starbucks. Don't have a flash car. All these things. And then there's other people which are saying, do buy all these things. And it's like a big divide. But how I look at it is, if you've got that much money that you're not worrying about your next paycheck, you've got a business that's earning hundreds of thousands a month, why would you not buy a car when you've got that much money that it doesn't even matter? Like, money just ends up not mattering at all. So there's that, and then there's also the people that are on like 100 grand a year that then buy a 100 grand car, and it's like you've worked a whole year, well, that's before tax as well, to get a car. So the car ends up owning you because you've got to constantly be paying out to own it, and it just, well, it puts you in debt firstly, and secondly it also means you're just gonna have to work for longer. So the divide there, I understand both sides, but at the same time, why would you want to live below your means all your life? I'd rather just try and increase my earnings rather than try to decrease my spendings. But you should obviously you should also always have less spending than what you're earning, because that just makes sense. You won't ever go in debt. But yeah, I'd rather try and earn more and gradually increase my spending as I earn more, so you can actually enjoy life. But also saying that, having flash cars don't make you enjoy life more. But if you like a certain car and you want a certain car, earn enough to get it. That's how I see it. But most actual enjoyment, like I said earlier, is from freedom in life, and money buys freedom, freedom buys happiness. Now, another part, this is a topic I really like, and I think I've talked about it before. People just doing jobs just for money. Like, money brings short-term happiness, you end up being unfulfilled in the future. But there's so many people that go for the highest job or leave the job they enjoy to get a higher paying job, which they end up not enjoying. And people think being a doctor is amazing, but it comes with stress, more hours, people dying in your hands, all these different things, which, unless, again, you actually want to do it your whole life, and it's not just the money or your parents pushing you into it, and then you get the debt of uni, I don't really see why it's so important. But this is what then gets talked about. So the guy that wrote the book had a friend that wasn't that clever but was really hard working, and a lot of things were already like weighing him down before he even started, but he always had a dream to be a doctor, and everything was stacked against him, but he did end up becoming a doctor a decade older than all his classmates. So how much fulfillment comes from starting from nothing, bulldozing your way to the top of medical school and achieving one of the most noble professions against all odds? I spoke to him a few years ago. The conversation went like this. Me, long time no talk, how you do? Him, awful career. Me, haha. Well, him, awful career, man. This went on for 10 minutes. The stress and hours had worn him into the ground. He seemed as disappointed in where he is today as he was driven towards where he wanted to be 15 years ago. This is just saying that, like, just because you earn a lot don't mean you're actually going to be fulfilled or enjoy your life. And also, even if you do enjoy something you're doing, sometimes when you get to your goal, you're like, I'm there. And then you're like, now what? And it's like, that ends up being not so great in the long run as well. You've got to constantly be resetting goals or having something to strive for, or have an overall purpose with many short-term things leading up to that purpose. Now, a part I highlighted, and are young people who purposefully live austere lives with little income, and they're perfectly happy with it. Then there are those who work their tails off to pay for a life of luxury, and they're perfectly happy with it. Both have risks, the former risks being unprepared to raise a family or fund retirement. The latter risks regret that you spent your youthful and healthy years in a cubicle. So again, I fully agree with that. It's true, but at the same time, I think some people can be trying to like brainwash themselves into thinking they enjoy something. Like, there's a lot of people that just don't enjoy their jobs at all, have to drink to get through it, chase the weekend, say, oh, it's Monday, all this, but they say they enjoy their jobs. And if you enjoyed your job, you would love to be going back and you'd be really happy all the time. And clearly, a lot of people aren't. They're just trying to tell themselves they are, because they know they're stuck there for how many years because of their financial decisions and life decisions they made in their past. And then another highlighted part is we should also come to accept the reality of changing our minds. Some of the most miserable workers I've met are people who stay loyal to a career only because it's the field they picked when deciding on a college major at age 18. And for England, I was 16, and most people end up being 17. When you accept the end of history illusion, you realise that the odds of picking a job when you're not old enough to drink that you will still enjoy when you're old enough to qualify for social security are low. Again, another thing, I think this is on purpose, that you're that young, you have to make that decision. That means you do rush into it, and then you do end up getting stuck in the whole big system that I'll probably make a video on, I don't know. So then, yeah, people end up getting stuck and they have to work, and I think that's done on purpose, to be fair. That's that, really, short and concise. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, turn the notification button on so you don't miss any of my valuable content, and I shall see you in the next one.